8 foot instead of 2 foot, 4 foot, but I have a exhibit A acoustic panel
Microphone behind you. Yep, there's some green. We are getting some sound. Check, check. Testing 1, 2, 3. This is microphone A. Testing 1, 2, 3. This is microphone B. Testing 1, 2, 3. This is microphone, I guess it would be C. This one almost seems to be picking up just a little bit of radio interference. You hear that? Yeah. I guess they're fine as long as you don't shake them around. It's very faint. Check, check. Testing 1, 2, 3. Check, check. Testing 1, 2, 3. Check, check. Testing 1, 2, 3. Let me adjust one other thing here. Here. Let's add a little bit more gain on that channel. Check, check. Testing 1, 2, 3. Check, check. Testing 1, 2, 3. Check, check. Testing 1, 2, 3. About 65 dB there. Excellent. Check, check. Testing 1, 2, 3. Check, check. Testing 1, 2, 3. All right. So the question is this more better? Is it much more better?
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can. Hang on. Let me
Okay, I have to hold my phone up to my ear in order to hear anything.
You have to hold the phone up to your ear in order to hear it.
And it's still super faint.
Okay. So the comedian in me has a few places to go there, but I will not go there because I like you. So, all right, let me tweak a couple more things here.
Michelle, can you send the link to Brett and see if it's maybe just my phone or not?
Michelle said to say yes. So Michelle very kindly asked if you have your volume up. Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing volume levels here. Check, check. Testing 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
Was that you, Brent? Is that volume level okay?
Yeah, nope, it's good.
All right. Is it a little quiet or is it about like it should be, do you think?
I think it's how it should be.
Okay.
I can hear you fine now.
Okay. also be because we're piping their audio back through here. Okay, it is doing a little bit of that here. So a couple ways. I'm going to repatch something here. So, for sake of their ears. All right, check, check, testing 1, 2, 3. Can you hear us? Check,
Yeah, that's
check,
great.
testing 1, 2, 3.
Yep.
Are we still coming through?
I can hear you guys just fine. Same with Brett.
Oh, I'm sorry. You were probably talking right there and I couldn't hear you because I had your input turned down in the mixer.
Yeah, we can both hear you guys.
Okay, okay. And we can finally hear you. I think I'm going to go make myself a cup of coffee. Apparently I need it. So thank you for your patience.
Thanks, guys. Testing. Testing. Check 1 2.
Check, check. Check, check. All right.
All right, I'm going to call the pre-meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Mayor Heath,
Present.
Commissioner Held, Commissioner Roberts, Commissioner Watson, Commissioner Strayer, Commissioner Gauss, Commissioner Castleberry. All members are present, Mayor.
I will now hand the meeting over to our city administrator, Greg Elliott.
Thank you, Mayor. So the first item on our pre-meeting agenda is a discussion of the location of future commission meetings and/or upgrades that we might make to city chambers building in order to facilitate those, and particularly the participation of the public and others remotely in those meetings. You may notice that tonight we've had to reduce the seating in this room. Again, the current order from the State Health Department only allows in a venue without fixed seating for 50 people to gather. So that's our total capacity, including staff and city commission in this room tonight. We are committed to this location for your two meetings in November. As we have a public hearing we're going to schedule for your next meeting, as you'll see when we get to the regular meeting agenda. But since your last meeting, we had Drake Lally go over with staff and look at the Chambers building and suggest tiers of alternatives that would be appropriate to allow for a more up-to-date audiovisual experience in that building, both in your pre-meeting room and in the main room of chambers. And that was in your packet tonight, and Mr. Lally is in attendance tonight as well. And I will turn it over to him to explain the components of his proposal and then to answer any questions on it that you might have.
Well, thank you, sir. Good evening. So have you all had a chance to look at what's going into the proposal? And shall we start? Do you have any questions so far?
I do. If we did the get by for now, then looking to the future, what would we be looking at for cost when we do have to upgrade? Like, is it a savings for us to go with more of the middle of the road or the EOC ready option instead? Because are we saving? So I guess I'd like to know what the savings are, as opposed to if there is savings by going with those packages now, as opposed to trying to add on later.
Well, certainly. It's kind of like if you go to your mechanic and they tell you, well, you have 4 bad tires, but 2 of them are worse than the others. So you can do 2 now and you can do 2 later, but it might cost you a little bit more in labor to come back and do some more. So that's pretty much the same situation here. The Get By For Now package, the main difference in equipment is the audio core. So the device that takes all of your microphones coming in, does some processing for the room, but then also sends that sound out to the live stream. It's a slightly more basic audio core than in the other system, but we could always put the more advanced audio core in there as well. But I wouldn't want to recommend something to you that would be 2 steps forward and then 1 step back. So it's at least taking you in the right direction. Any other questions on what's in here so far? Yes.
The sound panel and installation, so that is on top of what the actual audio equipment is, what you've estimated, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So what are, what would be the real, do we really need the sound panels? Do you feel that that's something that's absolutely necessary?
Well, it kind of depends on where your pain point is in that room. So in good faith, I would recommend that you go with at least one of those 2 options, because I don't want you to spend money on something that's not going to really benefit you. it does make a number of things easier. So for in-person participation, it makes it a lot easier for people in that room to actually hear what's going on. So your room is like the room we're in right now, it's pretty reverberant. There's a lot of echo. So you have to do a lot of work in order to get intelligibility up to where it needs to be, especially if you have people talking through masks. Now, if you have multiple microphones in that room, that actually exaggerates any kind of a reverb problem you have, because now you have multiple point sources, you have multiple speakers, but then you also have multiple microphones picking up all that sound. So the more we can cut down that sound bouncing around and make the audio for the microphones really clean, the better experience you have both in the room and on the Zoom meeting.
And what would be the sound quality difference? I know that you've written in here 50% coverage of the ceiling, 25% coverage for the two different packages. There's different coverages. What would I, as a user, really hear a difference between those two packages?
You would definitely hear a difference going between no sound treatment and the lower package.
Yep.
The other package, you would hear less of a difference because you're going from good to great at that point, but there would still be a definite difference between the two. So that higher package was what was recommended by, I had an acoustic expert come down from Detroit and analyze the room. Those are the percentages that he recommended. And then if you didn't want to do that much, that's why I put the lower option in there if you wanted something that you could still do now. And anything helps. It's just that you get to a point, it's kind of like salt. If you're making a pot of soup or something like that, you have to add a certain amount to be able to taste the difference. But then once you do, it does make a big difference.
Okay. What is the lifespan of the equipment? Let's say we went with the EOC ready. How often or when would be the next time we would have to spend money on upgrading this equipment?
So whenever I look at buying equipment, both for my own business and if I'm recommending it to somebody else, I look at, okay, here's what we are putting in as more permanent infrastructure, and here's what would have to change as technology changes. So the majority of what's in here is actually pretty stable. It's a standard video camera. It's standard SDI cabling, which has been around for a while and is just a standard, it's a standard video interface that a lot of professional broadcast setups use. So it's pretty much future-proof there for anything you'd want to do. Now, I wouldn't necessarily run a whole Hollywood production out of there. You might need a slightly more, but that's not what you're looking to do there. You want something that's stable and long-term. The things that might change are the interface. There's a Blackmagic ATEM Mini Pro in here. That's basically a little video switcher. So you can plug multiple sources in there, and then you can push a button and select which one you want to look at. That, I think, is going to be pretty future-proof for at least 5 years. So I have the exact same thing upstairs, and I plan on using mine for at least 5 years. But some better technology might come along down the line. You might have to spend, $500 or $600 at that point to get a slightly better one, but it'd still be pretty stable for you.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
Our desks currently are all hardwired with microphones. Are those microphones included in or rolled into these packages? Or because I see there's only a couple of wireless mics in each one of these, how does the fixed desk work in this environment?
So you would still be, you have plenty of perfectly good microphones already on those desks. I see no reason to spend extra money to replace what's already perfectly good. So those existing microphones would just plug into the new audio core. You don't have any microphones in that pre-meeting room right now. So we would be putting new microphones in there so people can hear you in there, but those existing microphones can be used in this new setup.
Thank you. And then in terms of working with this system, if you show me one of those boards with all the switches and doohickeys on it, intimidating. can this system be run? I mean, do we have to have you on site to run it? Or, I mean, how user friendly are each one of these solutions, and are we setting ourselves up for failure of putting in a really nice solution and not having an expert to run it? Or do we need to dedicate staff time to run it?
So you will not need a rocket engineer or a brain scientist to run this system. Let's look at the video side and the audio side. So the video side, basically you're going to have 4 buttons. Do I want to see this, that, this, or the other? And initially, depending on which package you choose, you won't even need to use all of those buttons. But if you can make text bold in Microsoft Word, you can use this system. Now on the audio side, what I plan to set up here, so there's a Elgato controller here that you'll see for $150. That plugs into, it's a computer that runs the audio core. So it's just something that it never needs to see the internet or see an update. It just runs. So it's pretty stable there. I will program presets into that for you so you can have different configurations. So if you want to have, let's say you want to be in your pre-meeting room, but you want to have that sound come into your big room, I'll just make that so you have to push one button and then it automatically changes everything for you. So that way you don't need to worry about getting into the system and trying to figure out what's going on. It'll all be pretty easy.
Thank you.
I think Commissioner Roberts had a great question when it comes to upgrading the equipment down the road, what we're looking at. So you're pretty much telling us that because of my businesses, when I bought it, I went the cheap route and got analog cameras. And you know what an analog picture looks like. It's not very good, right? So then I upgraded, 3 years down the road, I got HD, way better. So, but it costs me money to do that. So, what I'm looking for when I see these 3 quotes is that this is going to be the way of the future, I think. I think that our residents need to hear crisp, clear discussions from us without the echoing, because some of our senior citizens that that come to the meetings, they'd have an issue with the echoing and or not being able to hear some of the commissioners when they talk loud enough. So, I don't think we need to go cheap here by any means, because I think it's going to be important, going forward. So, but I didn't really. So, I don't know if you answered Mayor's question all the way. So when it comes to like the big capital purchase, like the EOC or the EOC, the PTZO optics live streaming camera. So what's the turnaround? Because I don't know what that means, but what is the turnaround on getting that upgraded to when new technology comes out? Because down the road, because again, I'm one to not go cheap on this, because I think a lot of our citizens will appreciate being able to sit in the comfort of their home and still participate in city government. But I want to know, like, some of the big capital stuff in this package, like what's the turnaround time on it? Like, is it all 5 years or 10 years or what? So.
Yeah, so looking at those cameras, I actually chose those specifically because they are more future-proof than a lot of other options. So they're not just one camera that you have to plug in a certain way. There are actually 3 ways of getting video out of the camera and into something else. So those cameras, you can even send video over your building network, like your internet network. I have them hard cabled right now just because that's a little bit more dependable. But the specifications of those cameras particularly, cameras will continue to get better and better. In my realm, I do video production, and there's a saying to, if you're looking at, say, a camera body and a camera lens, you can have a 20-year-old lens that's a perfectly good lens, but you might replace that body every few years. So the saying amongst video people is to date the bodies and marry the lenses. And so in this case, the equivalent of that is you have a lot of infrastructure in terms of the cabling, in terms of the devices for connecting all of this together. You can always swap out cameras later on, but I feel pretty confident that with that particular camera, providing that somebody doesn't take a sledgehammer to it, you'll be getting many years of service out of it.
Okay, 2 small questions too. So you're telling me we're not going to have a dedicated staff member come to meetings, take time out of their Mondays on first and thirds to come operate this system? Is it Zoom capability? Is it going to be difficult? It's kind of the same question Commissioner Watson had. Is it going to be easy to access when it comes to going online and whether it be through our website or what?
So the system will have 2 different ways of getting online. The Blackmagic A10 Mini Pro device, that is as easy to use with regards to Zoom as a webcam. So the webcam that's right back there It just plugs into the computer with a USB cable. Same thing with this other device. So you plug this into a computer with a USB cable. You select your camera in Zoom, you select your microphone in Zoom, and then you're ready to go. And I'm sorry, what was your second question?
No, I was just concerned with like the Zoom capability because I know a lot of our citizens enjoy being able to not have to come to meetings, especially when it gets colder out. If we have some disabled citizens that need to address us by something, so something that's good and crisp and clear without the echoing, I think is important to me. So yeah, I just wanted to make sure that it was going to be online. One more question: is there a warranty on this? Like, do we have to pay you to come service it if something was to happen? Because in both my locations, you know, if something, you know, a wire gets disconnected, I don't have time to deal with that. I'll call my person, they'll come fix it, but I got to pay for it. So is there a warranty involved in any of these packages? If so, what does that look like?
So I'd be happy to put something like that for you on paper. You know, I'm around here for the long haul, so I just bought property in town. I'm going to be in the area. If it's something that I put in, I try to make it robust enough that if it fails, it's really on me no matter what. So we could do a 12-month warranty. We could do a 24-month warranty. You know, if somebody goes in there with a screwdriver and starts moving things around, then that's a different discussion too. So. I'm sorry, I did remember what I was thinking of earlier. The second way of going online with the system, if you in the future decided you didn't want to do the Zoom, but you just wanted to stream directly, there's a button on there that can connect, say, straight to YouTube or straight to Facebook, depending on how we set it up. So you can just push that button and go live immediately on that device.
I think everybody has had some really good questions here tonight. I looked at what Drake proposed for us, and I really like it. And I guess I want you all to know that I've known Drake a long time. I've worked with Drake. He's a straight shooter. He's going to sell us straight on this stuff. And like he said, he is going to be here. And so I guess I just want to endorse him. And, you know, when I look through all this, I look at a lot of these things. I don't know what the heck they are either, but I just know who I'm dealing with, and I'm not really too worried about it. I also look at package 2 and package 3, and you're talking about the difference of $2,000. I wouldn't even consider package 2. I mean, I say, you know, the EOC ready, that's, you know, where we need to go. Commissioner Roberts was asking about the sound panels, and I'll say this. I love city chambers. I think it's a great downtown building. It is horrible to hear in. I don't have the best hearing. And before I was a commissioner, when I would be at commission meetings, I'd have to keep walking around the room because there were certain spots in that room where I couldn't hear anything. I don't care. Alan, you could have been talking and I wasn't going to hear it, you know? So yeah, we definitely need to do something in there. And so I just think this is long overdue. We have a great package here. We got a good guy working with us, and let's just do it right from the get-go.
Thank you, Ed. I'd also like to mention too, with regards to the acoustic treatment, if any of you would like to get an idea of the difference that makes, I have my studio upstairs that's fully sound treated, and you can walk from the hallway and then walk into the room and hear the difference. So you'd be welcome to stop upstairs after this meeting and check it out. We went from a 3-second reverb time in there, so you clap your hands and you can hear it 3 seconds later, to 0.3-second reverb time. So
I guess that was going to be my question. So if we went with the EOC ready technology package, I would just like you to talk us through like acoustic treatment package 1 to 2, like what would be the difference in there by going with the highest end for the technology? I'd just like to know that, like what, you know, like what that difference would be. Would it be something like that with echo, like you just described from, and I've been in your studio before, so would it be that echo, is that what it is going to be mostly dealing with, or for off of the microphones, or what?
so would that be the difference between the 2 technology packages or between the 2 sound packages?
The 2 sound, if we went with the highest end technology package.
Okay. So with regards to the difference between the 2 sound packages, they are like Lad said and others, if you're going to get up there and start screwing sound panels into your ceiling, it's probably better to do it right, because you get some cost breaks with regards to materials and all that fun stuff. But when you look at, say, the experience of somebody in the room, acousticians, so people who study this, they talk about the zone of intelligibility in the room. So like you can walk around the room and there are spots that are really bad because you're right in the middle of an archway. Another big no-no is if you have a very echoey room and you have somebody right by a wall, the sound builds up on itself right by that wall, and it causes a lot of issues there. So the difference that you'll be most likely to experience in there is you can actually fit more people in that room who are going to be able to hear wherever they are. So it'll be more consistent around the room, and it'll just be a better experience, more better, as they say. My grammar teacher would not like me. So does that answer your question? I know it can be hard to quantify the difference between a couple of things when you're trying to imagine what you're going to experience in the future. So I know that can be challenging. Anybody else?
I know it's a large expense to look at, but I do think it is the wave of the future. I know Greg and I had a lengthy discussion today just about how it looks like things are going to continue to be on Zoom and, be over the internet. Maybe not everyone, but you're going to probably be including people in that. And I do think this just might be the new normal, and we need to really look at the future and look at, making everything ready, and let's get it EOC ready. And I know it's a big jump, but I will agree. It's been very difficult from a father-in-law that was really hard of hearing. He was always complaining he couldn't hear in the chambers because of that echo. He was always telling me that. And I mean, I've noticed it as well. And I just think that, it's a big step, but it is our building, and like we're trying to use it and to serve the public the best we can in there. And it's just not very high quality right now with what we've got. And I think we need to look at that.
Thank you. I have a question for Commissioner Watson. In the absence, I don't think Nathan Owen is here. But Commissioner Watson, given your accounting background, is this a capital investment that could be funded via the oil trust?
Commissioner Gauss, I would have to go back and review the court rulings on it, but as you know, there's been a couple of different times that we've gone to court to get clarification on what is allowed within the scope of the oil trust and what qualifies as quality of life. And some of those things do have to do with building improvements, but they're very specific. So I would say that there's a possibility that it could, and I can look into that tomorrow and review those cases again to see if it falls into that. But it would be based upon whether or not we can qualify it as a quality of life improvement.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I just think the next step in this is going to be looking for the money. So I'll throw that out there, and I'm sure for our visitors on Zoom or the public, they may consider it to be a quality of life if they can attend the meetings from their living room rather than having to come down here. But thank you.
Just one follow-up, EOC ready. And I apologize if I missed it. What is the change or what is the upgrade that makes it EOC ready?
So what we're looking at here, And my understanding of the emergency operations center is not nearly as comprehensive as yours, but flexibility of information delivery seems to be a very critical component of that. So in talking with Michelle, we we're looking at putting up more displays in that room. The main difference between those two packages here is a video hub that gives you 12 inputs and 12 outputs. So with the push of 2 buttons, you can patch any of those inputs to any of those outputs. So you could be in there and you could say, I want this screen up on that display. I want this screen up on that display. So we can just look around and get instant access to different information. This package also includes a couple of extra cable runs that would allow you to, say, patch in your iPad from where you are into the system. So you could say, hey, put this up on the TV over there. I want to see this. So it just gives you some more flexibility in terms of being able to display different information in different places for people.
But this doesn't include any of the screens or the monitors associated with that, correct?
Correct. My understanding
It just makes us prepared for that.
Yes. My understanding was that that technology was going to be coming from a different budget than this technology.
Thank you.
If there aren't any more questions for Drake, we can move on to the next item. And if the commission would like, we can bring back some ideas for how to pay for it at your next meeting. Figure that out at staff level and get you some options for next time. So our next topic here is wild animal feeding. Now, our second reading of our ordinance, as you know it, is on the regular meeting agenda tonight, but there has been some discussion around whether that list is comprehensive, whether other animals ought to be included. So I put it on pre-meeting to facilitate that discussion if the commissioners want to dig into that more deeply at this point.
Well, when we say other animals, I think we're pretty much talking about feral cats. And I think arguing whether feral cats are wild animals or not, sort of like talking politics. And so I guess from where I stand right now, I really respect the opinion of Greg and Tamaris on this issue. I know it would be extremely difficult to enforce. But a couple things, you know, it's the relationship that people have with cats and dogs that make them a domestic creature. Without that relationship with people, they revert back to their origins within a couple generations, and all of a sudden they're wild animals again. So I would consider a feral cat a wild animal. I think that we need to acknowledge feral cats are all over town, and I agree with some of you that we need to take another look at how to deal with this issue. A number of cities have done this, and I haven't seen anybody who's really done a very good job of it yet, but it definitely is an issue. I did bring an email that I wanted to read tonight from a gentleman that I think lives over on Finch Street, but I'm not 100% sure. But I guess my point is that feral cats are an issue all over town. I know that I talked with one gentleman a couple of years ago who talked about a feral cat coming through his screen porch. This gentleman says there are a couple different things that I think need to be addressed with cats in the city. First is I feel that cats should be treated no differently than dogs. They should be licensed, leashed, and have to be picked up after in terms of their waste. The second is that if you stop feeding them, they will move on for another source of food and life-sustaining needs. They should be included in the ordinance that is being talked about as a nuisance animal, as there is no bigger nuisance than walking to your car, smelling of cat pee in the morning for commute, cat waste in your yard, and your dogs and children finding it before you do. This guy's upset. Um, they're also very aggressive, and Lord knows what disease they bring with them. There's no reason why it can't be dealt with both ways to make the city better. Um, so I guess my point is in reading that is that it's not just the situation over behind the hospital. It's happening all over town. So, but like I said before, I do agree with the opinions of Greg and Tamaris on this, but I do think that it's an issue that we shouldn't let it die here, that we should look at it more closely.
I agree with you, lad. And regardless if it is or is not an issue in other parts of our city, we don't want it to be an issue. So we do know of certain situations where it is a problem. And I also don't think the city can handle it alone. We don't have animal enforcement or anything along those lines. But I am fine with the ordinance as written tonight. I don't think there's any reason to get involved or to pull that back, because I think this cat or dog idea is large enough where it can be its own ordinance or resolution to be addressed, because we do need to engage other people. And I was reading some other city ordinances where, whether it's a success or not, I don't know, but it's on the books, where they specifically call out, one of them called out an animal hospital where if you trapped a feral cat, you could take it there and they would do whatever they need to do with it, or the Humane Society to be their partners. But we can't do this alone necessarily, but we also can't ignore it anymore. Now we might do our research and find that we can't come up with a solution, but I don't think we've tried hard enough to come up with that solution yet to call it good.
Just for clarification, I'll ask our city attorney, Ms. Hennigan. In looking at the proposed ordinance, I can pretty much read, so I think it's a kind of a moot question, but the city commission may add other animals to the list in section 6-37 by resolution. So if we made a decision 6 months, a year from now, we could come back and add. So I agree with Commissioner Watson. Let's continue to look for a solution, and hopefully we can find one that would, be compatible with this ordinance, and we just add it later. To me, that's better than just saying we're not going to do it. So, thank you.
I apologize if I missed it in the ordinance, but, and maybe Greg, you can address this. When we initially talked about the feeding ban, it was stated so that you could feed on your own property where you actually lived. Did I miss that part being in the ordinance? Because I went back through and I read it again last night, and I didn't notice in there that that is specifically stated. You have to live on the property if you're going to feed cats or birds or squirrels or whatever.
No, so it doesn't make any difference whether you live there or not under the ordinance. We defined animals that should not be fed. It doesn't make any difference if you're the property owner, if you're feeding deer, that activity is still subject to the same health risks for the deer same nuisance for the neighborhood. We did not make any distinction in this ordinance as to whether you live there or not. We did try to avoid things that people do commonly feed, such as birds and therefore squirrels, which are not included in the list.
Okay, all right. Thank you for clarifying that, because I thought we had had that conversation and just didn't see it in there. As someone who struggles with this on our own street, I've actually had to confront a neighbor several times who feeds, at one point, probably had about 6 to 8 feral cats that she fed on her front porch, and refused to take care of them. And they would constantly poop on my front lawn. And as you all know, I have a beagle, and what do dogs like to do? Well, it wasn't pretty. So I do think we do need to continue this conversation and try and come up with a solution to not have as many feral cats, especially with the feeding, because one of the, if I understand correctly, one of the benefits of a city having some feral cats is that they do keep some rodent populations down. However, if people are feeding them, that defeats the purpose. So if they are not being fed by the residents, then they are out there catching the mice, the rats, the whatever else that are helping the city residents. But if we feed them, it's kind of like us having a barn cat at my parents' farm. We weren't allowed to feed the barn cats because the only reason the barn cats were there was to catch the mice. And so if they're hungry, they're going to go out and catch those mice. So we do need to take a look at who's feeding them and what we should be doing about that. But I'm okay with the ordinance as it's written right now.
I have a question kind of piggybacking on Mary's question about if you live in the home and people feeding their feeding birds at their own home. Section B says they cannot purposely deposit bird seed, grain, or corn on the ground. Is that, am I reading that correctly? Is that at their own home as well?
Yeah, that would include their own home. But that those are the A, B, and C are things that the ordinance does not apply to, right? And so you're prohibited from intentionally feeding any of the nuisance animals that are listed. And then the exceptions are A, B, and C there, which are intended to get at, normal activities like having a bird feeder and so on. It does not include ducks. It does include geese.
There's signage that says don't feed them. You're correct, but and I guess there are geese at Burr Pond as well. So then I guess you really need to be able to distinguish between the two.
Is there any further discussion on this topic? All right, hearing none. The next item was for me to give you an update on the Marvin Farms property sale. And I guess I'll give you an update by telling you there's not much of an update. Prospective purchasers did visit town last week. They stopped in and met with me briefly after going out to the site. we're continuing on with the contract on the 20 acres, but I have not received any revised contract for the balance of the property in line with what they had previously offered, which offer expired back on the 27th, and which I had pointed out to them that we couldn't deal with an offer that wasn't good past your next city commission meeting. So no news on that. We did produce the title work for them. They've had it for a little over 10 business days, did not receive any objections to that. When they were here, they were gearing up to try to get their surveyor out there. So not much really to report. I'd hoped there would be something to report when I put it on the agenda, but there really isn't. Any questions on that? Correct. That's what we're under contract for right now. So if there's nothing more on that, Mayor, I would cede the rest of the time for other items that commissioners might want to entertain.
I just had a question for Matt. Don't walk away. From one of our previous meetings, and that's, could you tell us where we stand on the Miles Drive paving project, and if there's been any success in finding somebody who wants to joint venture with us on that?
Absolutely. We have actually reached out to all the business owners out there in Sterling Estates, and 95% of them are willing to help out. There was one business that said they believe that they will win in court against against the railroad, so they don't feel that they'll have to pay. But in further discussion with Greg, it's going to be an all or nothing. They will end up using that access road. So I think right now it's time to probably gather some more liquid numbers and then present that to each of the business owners. We did not tell them what the amount was, but we've kind of broken it down by a matrix on vehicle traffic and load of the traffic, and whether they're in the city or not. So I'll present that to you guys soon, and then we'll move forward from that point.
Thank you.
Just to swing back around to your feral cats, as you start to move forward and looking at different ideas of what to do to address that in the city, I would just offer to help as you look at those ideas. I did a lot of research this past week on feral cat case law. Not sure that you guys knew that existed, but there's lots of it to read. And so there may be some ins and outs that you might want to know along the way with regard to enforcement on different ideas and what has happened in other municipalities and what's been upheld and what has not with regard to those type of things. So if there's anything that I can do to help you in your brainstorming process to know what's feasible, I'd be happy to provide that information for you all.
Along with that information, I'd like to hear from our code enforcement and from anyone else who might get the calls. Have there been issues? Have there been a lot of calls from neighbors concerned about feral cat feeding or just cats in the area? Just, I read something today, it's anecdotal, or is it actual data? So it would be kind of nice to see if we have any data on how much of an issue this is.
just quickly on that thought, Mary, I challenge that idea if it's anecdotal or if it's data driven. Why would it be bad to have that policy in place as maybe a preventative or a forward-looking measure instead of waiting until it becomes a data-driven problem?
Any other comments or anything we want on there?
I'd like to say something if I could.
We're going to go to public comment in just a second.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You're fine. All right. We're going to move on. At this time, we will have public comment, and please state your name and address when going to public comment. Thank you.
Hello, this is Mark Murray, 1004 Sawmill Court, Adrian. I'd like to thank the commission and the community for being aware of the issue and dealing with the issue. I know it's a complicated issue. It's way more complicated if you live near one of these problems than it is if you don't. Previously, it was never a big issue for us until we started having the problem right next door. And again, just thank the commissioners being willing to deal with the tough issue. Lastly, I just want to say that this is really an issue of people. It's not about cats. The cats are fine. We'll always have feral cats in our communities. It is about the industrial feeding or the regular feeding of a large group of cats by humans, by people who live in our community and maybe don't. That is a problem that really should be addressed as we move forward. Again, I'd like to thank the commission for being willing to deal with it. It's a serious problem in the city for those of us who live near the problem. Thank you.
Hi, so I'm going to turn on the video here. I am Ms. Dasha Wilkerson, the communications manager for the Lenawee Humane Society, 705 West Beecher Street. So the feral cat issue is a huge, huge issue, as we know. It is one that we've been dealing with for years, and so we would love to work with the city to come up with a solution for feral cats. And that's actually why we're here. We are really concerned that these cats could get added to this list, which there is research and data out there that shows that this is not the solution. So we would be happy to help provide you with those studies if needed. But we do want you to be aware that there are solutions out there. Feeding bans don't work because when you remove that food source, these cats are resilient. There's a reason why there's an issue. They're gonna find a food source, whether that is your neighbor's house or your neighbor's trash can or the restaurant down the street. They're gonna figure it out. When you remove this food source that they're relying on, you might have some cats that are going to not be resilient. They might, not find any food and die. So that's not humane, right? Or you're going to have the cats that are resilient, they're going to travel further. They're really gonna roam, and now they're gonna be a bigger problem for even more neighbors. This is what studies have shown, like actual research. If you remove the cats altogether, right? Because a lot of people just want a quick fix. Get them out of my neighbor's yard, let's come scoop them all up and take them out. There's still a food source there, whether we know it or not. More cats are going to move into that area. Now you have an even bigger problem. So all of these quick fix solutions that other communities have enacted and tried to get to work, there's research that shows it hasn't. The only humane, effective solution really is trap, neuter, return. And it's, in essence, it's spaying and neutering. So we can't remove the cats, we can't remove their food, but we can remove their ability to reproduce. And that's what this main issue is these cats are reproducing like crazy. So since we can't get them out of the picture, you can make them work for you. And that's what we really want to show the city. So if you guys can get with us, we can really show you how that can all work. It does have to work on a big scale. So we've been trying to work with just smaller communities and little, streets and neighborhoods, houses one at a time. So that's great that we're controlling little mini colonies, but we don't have a handle on the whole community, but we can. So we do subsidize the cost of that spaying and neuter. We can't cover the entire cost on our own just yet. Maybe there'll be something in the works later. But get with us. We can really help with that. When you fix these cats and keep them in their own colony, they're then preventing other unfixed cats from moving into your neighborhood, right? And so then when you don't have other unfixed cats moving into the neighborhood, you don't have all those behaviors that people are complaining about. You don't have animals breeding. You don't have them fighting or urinating because they're territorial. They literally are working for you to keep those issues out. So we can help you make that happen. Just get with us and please don't add them to the list.
Mayor Heath, may I speak?
Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. About 5 years ago or so, Habitat partnered with the Humane Society and got a grant because of the top 2 or 3 concerns from residents of historic East Adrian were feral cats. And they got a grant, and hundreds, I don't know how many, but hundreds of cats were spayed and neutered, and we had an impact. But I think the broader approach is the way to go. So I really encourage you to work with the Humane Society. But my main comment was going to be about the sound in the chambers. I don't know where you come up with the money, but I really encourage you to get the best possible solution you can. I too am hearing impaired, and I've just been challenged in there for forever. And I just look forward to better quality, and I appreciate that you're putting the time into this, a really good solution. So thank you so much.
May I speak?
Go ahead.
This is Marcy Cornell, Executive Director of the Lenawee Humane Society at 705 West Beecher. And I just wanted to add to Sasha's comment. We do have an education piece to the Humane Society, and we would be happy to educate the public on the TNR services and what does work for stray and feral cats. And to Lynn Punnett's comment, thank you, Lynn, for that. Through that grant, we actually spayed and neutered. We targeted an area. Adrian, we spayed it. So we need to drive right there with that. 1,500 cats in a 12-month period.
Hearing no more public comment, may I get a motion to adjourn? All in favor say aye. Meeting is adjourned, and we will begin our regular meeting in 6 minutes. I call to order the meeting of the Adrian City Commission on November 2nd, 2020. If everyone would please rise for a moment of silence and the Pledge of Allegiance. Roll call, please.
Mayor Heath,
Present.
Commissioner Halt, Commissioner Roberts, Commissioner Watson, Commissioner Strayer, Commissioner Gauss, Commissioner Castleberry. All commission members are present.
I've also had a request to just make sure when you are giving the motion or giving a second to please state your name afterwards. Thank you. May I get a motion to approve the minutes of the October 14th, 2020 special meeting of the Adrian City Commission? I have a motion from Commissioner Halt with a second from Commissioner Roberts. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Roberts, Commissioner Watson, Commissioner Strayer, Commissioner Gauss, Commissioner Castleberry, Mayor Heath,
Yes.
Commissioner Halt. Motion passes by unanimous vote.
May I get a motion to approve the minutes of the October 19th, 2020 regular meeting of the Adrian City Commission? I have a motion from Commissioner Castleberry with a second from Commissioner Roberts. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Watson, Commissioner Strayer, Commissioner Gauss, Commissioner Castleberry, Mayor Heath, Commissioner Halt, Commissioner Roberts. Motion passes by unanimous vote.
May I get a motion to pay the vouchers as presented? I have a motion from Commissioner Roberts with a second from Commissioner Gauss. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Strayer, Commissioner Gauss, Commissioner Castleberry, Mayor Heath,
Yes.
Commissioner Halt, Commissioner Roberts, Commissioner Watson. Motion passes by unanimous vote.
At this time, before we go into the regular agenda, we have a special presentation. So if Zachary Bott can come up here. Zachary is from the Lenawee Association of Realtors, and they have given a very generous and amazing donation of $3,500, and it's going to go towards sound in Comstock Park. So you will have Christmas music when you walk through Comstock Park now. And so we thank you very much for this donation. And thanks again from the Lenawee Association of Realtors. We will be accepting that on the resolutions at the end, but we wanted to do that with Zachary here to do the presentation. Ordinance 20-010 is the second reading and consideration of an ordinance to create Article 3 of Chapter 6, entitled Feeding Certain Wild Animals. May I get a motion to adopt the ordinance? Are there any public comments? Are there any commissioner comments? We have a motion from Commissioner Watson with a second from Commissioner Strayer. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Gauss, Commissioner Castleberry, Mayor Heath, Commissioner Halt, Commissioner Roberts, Commissioner Watson, Commissioner Strayer. The ordinance is passed by a unanimous vote.
Resolution R20-196 is from Parks and Engineering. It is a resolution to set a public hearing for the establishment of a special assessment district for improvements to Lau Avenue, SAD number 391. May I get a motion to adopt the resolution? Are there any public comments? Are there any commissioner comments?
Yes, I have I guess a question slash assignment for Matt, if you would. By the time we get around to the special public hearing, for both this and Addison Street, could you bring to us the average special assessment amount and the average assessed property value of the homes, just the homes on those streets?
I have the averages here. I do not have the average for the property value. But the average for Lau is roughly 3,400. And the average for Addison is almost the same.
Okay. Yeah, I'd like to look. I'd like to take a look also at the average assessed property value.
I will get that information for you.
Thank you.
I have a motion from Commissioner Halt with a second from Commissioner Castleberry. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Castleberry. Mayor Heath.
Yes.
Commissioner Halt. Commissioner Roberts. Commissioner Watson. Commissioner Strayer. Commissioner Gauss. Resolution passed by unanimous vote.
Resolution R20-197 is from Parks and Engineering. It is a resolution to set a public hearing for the establishment of a special assessment district for improvements to Addison Street, SAD number 392. May I get a motion to approve the resolution? Are there any public comments? Are there any commissioner comments? I have a motion from Commissioner Gauss with a second from Commissioner Strayer. Roll call, please.
Mayor Heath.
Yes.
Commissioner Halt. Commissioner Roberts. Commissioner Watson. Commissioner Strayer. Commissioner Gauss. Commissioner Castleberry. Resolution passed by unanimous vote.
Resolution R20-198 is from the police. It is a resolution to waive the bid process and authorize the purchase of replacement patrol vehicles. May I get a motion to approve the resolution? Are there any public comments? Are there any commissioner comments?
Two questions, and I see Chief back there real quick. Could you just remind us why we waived the bid process on police cars? Because that's pretty standard practice if my memory serves me right.
Yes, sir. Good evening. The state essentially does the bid for us. This is priced out under my deal, which is bidding for all law enforcement in the state of Michigan. So we just go with the low price that they produce.
produced there.
And then I noticed, and this is just more curiosity than anything, I noticed that it's a two-wheel drive Tahoe. Why wouldn't we buy a four-wheel drive Tahoe in Michigan?
The two-wheel drive is pursuit rated, and the four-wheel drive has a tendency to tear up in the front. We had one at one time, but it was not pursuit rated, so we definitely want that feature in the event we get into pursuit. We want to be covered by insurance companies, best practice, all of that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. The Charger is all-wheel drive, if you noticed, so there's a movement in that direction. We'll see how that goes. Thank you.
I have a motion from Commissioner Watson with a second from Commissioner Strayer. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Halt, Commissioner Roberts, Commissioner Watson, Commissioner Strayer, Commissioner Gauss, Commissioner Castleberry, Mayor Heath.
Yes.
Resolution passes with unanimous vote.
Resolution R20-199 is from Finance. It is a resolution to authorize the Finance Department to amend the fiscal year 2020-21 first quarter budget. May I get a motion to adopt the resolution? Are there any public comments? Are there any commissioner comments? I have a motion from Commissioner Roberts with a second from Commissioner Gauss. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Roberts, Commissioner Watson, Commissioner Strayer, Commissioner Gauss, Commissioner Castleberry, Mayor Heath,
Yes.
Commissioner Halt. Resolution passed by unanimous vote.
Resolution R20-200 is from the City Commission. It is a resolution to approve the closure of city facilities on Wednesday, November 25th, 2020 at 12 p.m. and give all full-time and regular part-time city employees a paid half-day off. May I get a motion to adopt the resolution? Are there any public comments? Are there any commissioner comments? I have a motion from Commissioner Watson with a second from Commissioner Castleberry. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Watson, Commissioner Strayer, Commissioner Gauss, Commissioner Castleberry, Mayor Heath,
Yes.
Commissioner Halt, Commissioner Roberts. Resolution passed by unanimous vote.
Resolution R20-201 is from the City Clerk. It is a resolution to approve a new dual-purpose permit for Teebs, 1561 West Maumee Street, Adrian, Michigan. May I get a motion to adopt the resolution? Are there any public comments? Are there any commissioner comments? I have a motion from Commissioner Strayer with a second from Commissioner Gauss. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Strayer, Commissioner Gauss, Commissioner Castleberry, Mayor Heath,
Yes.
Commissioner Halt, Commissioner Roberts, Commissioner Watson. Resolution passed by unanimous vote.
Resolution R20-202 is from administration. It is a resolution to accept a donation from the Lenawee County Association of Realtors for the Comstock Christmas Riverwalk. May I get a motion to adopt the resolution? Are there any public comments? Are there any commissioner comments? I would just like to say that in a time of a lot of changes and we're not able to have our regular lighting down at Comstock Park and things are going to be a little different, this was just a really wonderful, nice surprise that they were willing to donate this money so that we could have a really nice way to enjoy the Comstock Christmas walk and be socially distanced and just enjoy it as your leisure throughout the season. So I just really want to thank the Lenawee County Association of Realtors for this very generous donation. I have a motion from Commissioner Halt with a second from Commissioner Strayer. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Gauss, Commissioner Castleberry, Mayor Heath,
Yes.
Commissioner Halt, Commissioner Roberts, Commissioner Watson, Commissioner Strayer. Resolution is passed by unanimous vote.
It is now time for public comment. Just to reiterate, there is a 3-minute time limit. And for the record, please state your name and address.
Hello, I would like to make a public comment. I'm Joaquin Ramos from 422 South Winter. A little while ago, you guys did some work on the road at South Winter. And there were some signs put up saying no parking. Many of which I still see around. Some of them still up on the post and trees they were put on originally, and some on the ground. I certainly hope someone's going to be around to start cleaning those up, but I wanted to bring it to your attention. Also, the door limits extend by a bit, and they include Comstock Park. Now, of course, the door rules go on till about 10. Parks during winter close around 7, 8 o'clock. So I'm just curious which one supersedes the other. So am I not allowed to be in the park even though it's in that area and I have a beverage after night? Also, perhaps a little bit more pressing is, and where West Mall meet and West Church meet, there's the line and it goes on until the other side of that street. Well, there is no way to pass from West Church to West Maumee with staying within those lines. You would have to cross the street towards that old gas station that's not used anymore, then cross the street again over by the Kiwanis Trail where the Giant Hay is, and by that point you're about half a block from the limits of the line. I'm sure part of the idea is that by the time you're over there, you'll be about done, but I think it is worth taking consideration when you go the other direction. I think the first way you can pass on to West Maumee would be South Winter. So just want to bring those to your attention. Maybe you want to go look into them. And thank you for your time.
Not hearing any more public comment, I'm going to move along. Are there any commissioner comments?
Really quick, I don't know how many of you saw the Best of Lenawee, but 2 of our parks managed to make that list, which is a true testament to our park staff. And I've spent some time in the parks the last couple of weekends with my dogs and whatnot. Parks are in great shape, and people have really enjoyed them this summer. And as they're going into the fall season, I'm sure they'll show their value in a different way. But I think it's worthy of noting how much people are enjoying our parks right now more than ever. Thank you. as well as how good our staff is doing at maintaining those parks.
Speaking of Christmas, I did hear an update this morning about the Lenawee County building upgrades. I did have a question that was not answered in that update. Are we going to have a Christmas tree on the front lawn of the county building? Yes. Okay. Oh. Okay. All right. So, all right. Thank you.
One thing I would just like to bring up as well, relating to Christmas, and it's approaching quickly, is that there are still, at least there were last I checked today, there's still some trees available at Comstock Christmas Tree Walk. We would love to have anybody come out and buy a Christmas tree and decorate that. But we will not be having a regular lighting like we have done in the past because of COVID restrictions and the amount of people there. So I just want to let everyone know, and we're going to be spreading the word very heavily in the next week, but we are going to try to do a little video like montage thing about this is Adrian and just the Christmas spirit. And when we do actually light the trees, we actually have somebody that has donated to do all the videography for us and put a drone through the trees and take it from the top. And we're gonna put out a video. So we're asking for groups, choir groups, dance groups, anybody that would like to spread a message or of hope, singing. We would love to have any church groups, any schools, any groups like that at all to participate in this little video that we're going to put at the beginning when we do put out the Christmas tree lighting, and just to say this is Adrian and we're here and we are going to make it through this time. So just want to encourage everyone to spread the word, and we would love to get a lot of people into this video that will be put together by Drake Lally. Thank you, Drake. Hearing no more comments, may I get a motion to adjourn? All in favor, say aye. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you.